Hey, what is up guys, Chillfeed here, back bringing you another Borderlands 3 video. No long intro, don't worry. Just wanted to say that yesterday was finally the day when I collected all of the missing legendary weapons that after now 3 days of playing time haven't dropped for either me or my two friends, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I will include 2 of them in these videos that should have been in other parts, so without further ado, let's jump right into part 5 of every legendary weapon in Borderlands 3. Let's go. Starting off, this part is the legendary Torque Pistol with what seems to be a fitting name for its mechanics, which is the Breeder. In my case it is the double penetrating Breeder, and in your case this prefix may change, as well as the element, since it can come with I believe every single one of them and drop from any lootable source in the game. The red text on it is a quote from the poem This Be the Verse by Philip Larkin, where it says, "Man hands on misery to man." And like I said, the name of this weapon is fitting for its mechanics, because when you shoot it, it will always shoot a sticky projectile or 2 if you have the double penetrating version, that when stuck into an enemy will spawn 2 more arcing projectiles that will explode on impact, and makes it pretty useful for crowd control. It is a fun weapon to have, and if you should be luckier than me and it dropped you before playing 3 days in total, definitely worth a try. Another great weapon for crowd control is this fun and awesome looking Mali 1 sniper rifle called Firestorm. And let me tell you, it seems to be a pretty rare sniper rifle since it is a world drop from any lootable source in the game, and I also haven't seen too many videos on YouTube about it. There seems to be more videos about the legendary grenade mod with the same name. Anyways, the red text on it says seek shelter immediately, and even though I don't know if it has any too specific reference, it will become clear once I explain its mechanics and you see the gameplay. When you shoot this thing after a noticeable charge up time, I still hate you Katagawa Jr. for this by the way, it will always spawn 3 fireballs into the air that will fall back down quickly after a short delay that can deal massive AoE fire damage. Fun weapon to use against larger crowds and bosses without a shield. Hopefully you'll get it before I did and have more time to have some fun with it. Even though I never really enjoyed TDO weapons in general and usually never use them, I found that the Polybius was a weapon that felt different to me than other TDO weapons. Maybe it is because this shotgun can also be somewhat viable when just shooting it instead of having to rely on your reload and waste so much ammo by doing so. It is also pretty fun to use since it always switches between shooting 4 fast moving projectiles in a horizontal and vertical line, always starting with 4 horizontal shots. Its name and its red text have 2 references. One of them is to the Polybius square, a method of cryptography which changes letters into numbers, and the numbers on the red text 21, 11, 33, 14, 24 and 42 translate to the word Fundir, which was the name of the mysterious amulet in Borderlands 2's Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragonkeep DLC. The weapon can also come with any element from any lootable source in the game, does okay damage when shooting it, and can still be thrown as a grenade upon reloading, where it still shoots a few projectiles before exploding on impact.
I'm on a freaking roll!
A Hyperion SMG where I wouldn't be too surprised if Marcus had some type of influence on it is the predatory landing. Especially when you read the red text, bullets are cheap but not that cheap. If you want to get this thing, you have to kill one of the legendary hunt enemies from Sir Hammerlock right here in the Draughts on Pandora, which is a Varkit with the name Lavender Crawley. This Varkit will always spawn and is pretty easy to reach from the fast travel station and has a chance to drop the predatory landing every single time you kill it. I must say that this weapon is almost useless though for early game, because it takes $1 away from your bank account every time you fire a shot. For late game though, if you should run out of normal SMG ammo, you can always switch to the predatory landing and kinda have infinite ammo if you stacked a bunch of money already. It can also come with any element. Otherwise, this weapon is nothing too special in terms of everything else, except for making it rain with coins and dollar signs every time you shoot it.
That was all me! Oh my...
Yes, another Maliwan weapon that suffers from its charge up time. Who would have thought? The projectile recursion still has the potential to be so much more fun than it already is, but the charge up time for this shotgun can be a little bit annoying sometimes. It can still deal some amazing damage because it fires its bouncing projectiles in such a tight spread that they will almost always all land on an enemy and can sometimes even be used for mid to long range. Its red tech seems like a joke where the developers might just ran out of ideas and somehow still came up with something I found quite funny, but I also laugh every single time Steve opens his mouth. Back to the weapon though, you might not have such a problem with charge up times on Maliwan weapons, and even if you do, it's still fun to watch your shots bounce off every object, especially inside of a building.
We never stop to the This is so goddamn
Trying to get a legendary weapon from a rare enemy spawn can sometimes be a huge pain in the butt. And this was also the case for me with the Psycho Stabber. It is a COV pistol that can only drop from bomb and nades, and even though I haven't seen the Bates Motel series on Netflix, my girlfriend watched it and I immediately thought it is a reference to Norman Bates from there, but it's actually a reference to the Norman Bates from the Psycho Hitchcock movie in the 60s, and the red text is a reference to the song Psycho Killer by Talking Heads. You can find bomb and nades right here in the Meridian outskirts on Promethea. He is pretty easy to reach from the fast travel station nearby. Take the elevator up to this platform and save and crit if he doesn't spawn in at the same spot you see him spawning in the video. The Psycho Stabber shoots knives without any element attached to them that deal very low damage and with relatively low speed, but it also comes with a significant boost in melee damage, which might make it useful for melee builds on a mirror. I might just have been getting lucky with the Torque Quadomizer rocket launcher, or it will drop every single time you kill the Rampager in the Forgotten Basilica right here on Promethea, which would make it one of the easiest legendary weapons to obtain on this list, since there's a fast travel station right in front of the arena, and when playing the main campaign, you will have to kill the Rampager anyways. Too bad Gearbox couldn't fit the whole quote from the movie Black Sheep as a red text on there, and only put damn near kill them on it. The rocket launcher itself is quite nice when using it, and looks badass in my opinion when looking at it in first person. It will shoot 4 projectiles lined up horizontally that randomly switch between radiation, incendiary and corrosive element, and deal massive splash damage sometimes because you simply cannot miss the target. Since it is so easy to get and fun to use, there's no reason not to get one on level 50 as well. Since the next 2 weapons are basically the same weapon, with the name changing only depending on the element it will come with, I put the Queen's Call and King's Call on the same spot for you guys. This Jacob's Revolver is another weapon that can only be obtained by killing a boss enemy that you will have to kill when playing through the main campaign anyway, which will be Tyreen right here in the Destroyer's Rift on Pandora, where there's also a fast travel station you can spawn on right in front of the arena. With the red text on both weapons, life is ours, we live it our way, comes a reference to the Metallica song, Nothing Else Matters. And let me tell you, at least one of these revolvers is a must-have on every flex save file you have, because even though it is not great for general mobbing, it is easily one of the best weapons to kill most bosses, even after Gearbox nerfed its fire rate by almost 70%. It will return 3 bullets to your magazine every time you land a critical hit, and additionally will create 3 projectiles that will home in on the nearest enemies with massive damage. It will always have an element, whereas the Queen's Call will always have corrosive, cryo or radiation, and the King's Call comes with shock, incendiary or also corrosive. I recorded some gameplay of it already after the nerf, this time on a different location because I just have to show you how good it is against bosses, so skip to the next weapon right now if you don't want to spoil yourself with the mid-game boss fight.
See you soon. Satisfied.
Can we give it up for Reese just a second to appreciate how great the mustache man designed these Atlas weapons? The Rebel Yell is yet another awesome looking Atlas assault rifle, which can be quite fun to use, but to be honest, ultimately lacks in damage. The name is a reference to the battle cry that was used by Confederate soldiers during the American Civil War and the red text, and when you charge, yell like furies, is a quote from the general of a regiment during that war, and probably the point in time where the Rebel Yell was first used. The weapon can drop from any lootable source in the game, but will only come with the shock element. It can switch between smart bullets and multiple tracker darts at once that when stuck into an enemy will let your smart bullets rain in on that spot for 18 seconds straight, which is a pretty long time. But like I said, the weapon doesn't do as much damage as I wish, and is therefore only really worth getting for the looks of it and for having some fun with shooting bullets around the corner, in my opinion. Maybe Mali 1 should have implanted more explosions when creating their weapons, because what Torque did with the Redline might be the most fun I had with a shotgun in Borderlands 3 yet, especially on Moes. If you want a shotgun that charges up for a short time before unleashing multiple explosive projectiles with an insane fire rate, you have to kill yet another rare enemy with the name Road Dog right here in the Winterlands on Pandora. There's a safe station nearby where the Catch-A-Ride station is, and from there you need to go downhill until you get to the container in the badass filled COV camp where Road Dogg has a chance to kick open that door and drop you the Redline if you are lucky after killing him. The name of this shotgun is a reference to the anime movie Redline, and the red text is a quote from Dom in The Fast and the Furious where he says, "I live my life a quarter mile at a time, but the mile is replaced with mag." This shotgun is just as good with the impact as it is with the sticky projectiles, and I believe it can even come with any element. The weapon looks awesome, sounds awesome, there are explosions everywhere, awesome damage. If you don't have it yet,
Why?
Wrong side? Get dead.
Dart's take on a melee weapon comes with the name Ripper, and honestly has another great design, and I just love what Gearbox did with the weapon design in Borderlands 3. It is an obvious reference to the infamous Jack the Ripper with the red text, "They say I'm a doctor now," as a quote from a letter he allegedly wrote to a London news agency way back in the 19th century. And this SMG cannot come with any element, but will always have a melee attachment with it when it drops from any lootable source in the game, and to be honest, I don't think that its special ability is all too practical. The weapon can switch between being semi-automatic or full auto for me, but I've seen other people using burst fire on it too, so it can come with any fire mode it seems. And when you can land a melee hit on an enemy, the weapon will deal more damage with its bullets to that enemy. So you have to get close to an enemy first, melee him, and then shoot him to get the highest damage output from the weapon. And maybe it is just not a playstyle that I like, so you might enjoy it a little more than I did, but I honestly don't know what more to say about this weapon.
Got a target for you.
The last legendary Torque pistol in Borderlands 3 on this list is the Rowans Thorns, and even though I said it for the Devastator before, I think this one might even be closer to what the Unkempt Herald was back in Borderlands 2. Unfortunately, I couldn't find too much about this weapon's name and red text reference other than some guesses, so I would appreciate it if someone who knows leaves a comment down below so I can update it in the timestamp for this weapon. This is a pistol that can be obtained from any lootable source in the game, and even though it only says corrosive on this weapon, which it will always do, there are some more projectiles when you shoot it that deal additional incendiary damage as well when firing the impact projectiles. It also shoots sticky projectiles, but they will do corrosive damage only, I believe. My version of it is the oozing vigorous Rowans Thorns, but I honestly wish I had the double penetrating prefix for it for basically double the damage. This pistol is awesome and might just be my favorite Torque pistol in the entire game. Couldn't recommend it more to you guys. The The Rowans call, another Borderlands 3 fan favorite weapon, and rightfully so. This was also a reason why I thought it would be easy to find the reference to the red text "uh-oh" and the name itself, but I just couldn't find anything again. I'm sorry y'all, but you have to help me out on this one again and write a comment down below if you know anything about it. It is another Jacob's weapon. This time it is classified as an assault rifle that has the special ability to have any element and to return 2 bullets into your magazine and ricochet 2 more bullets towards the nearest enemy when landing a critical hit. This is basically Jacob's version of the Lucian's Call, and just like that can drop from any lootable source in the game, and also a must-have for everyone playing this game.
I want to see what your guts look like. Run, you weaklings!
Any Destiny 2 fans in here where the Ruby's Wrath somewhat reminded you of the Wardcliff coil? Not only because of its big round thing, whatever it is for its design, but because of the missile barrage it fires every time that deals massive damage. I know it's getting somewhat ridiculous now, but for the 3rd time in a row I don't know anything about the name's reference, so forgive me and please help me out another time if you know anything about this name. When you read the red text though, you can see where this comes in when using the weapon. This rocket launcher comes with a vortex grenade that can suck in enemies and tag everybody inside its range, and when you fire your smart rockets, literally no one can escape from them. It won't have any element, reduces your movement speed, and the tag from the vortex grenade can disappear pretty quickly with a higher cooldown, but keep an eye out for it whenever playing the game because it can drop from anywhere at any time and is a lot of fun with a lot of damage.
Here they come!
Finally, another returning weapon from Borderlands 2 with the Sawbar, which used to be a pearlescent weapon back then and is now a COV legendary assault rifle with reduced overheat rate and a mechanic that can deal great damage when you hit your enemies within a certain range. The name Sawbar is probably a mixture of Squad Automatic Weapon, SAW, and Browning Automatic Rifle, BAR, and kept its red text with suppressing fire. This is meant quite literally, since this assault rifle can only come with the fire element and it takes a long time for the weapon to overheat to suppress your enemies with fire. After a relatively short travel distance, the projectile will split into what looks like a shape of a Mercedes star. Sorry, I couldn't think of anything better to explain. That also explode and can deal some decent damage to enemies hit by it. It is quite fun to use, especially when you can hit the sweet spot on larger enemies without a shield, but it can also be somewhat distracting because you always want to find the right range, so try to get used to it when it drops from any lootable source in the game for you.
Feeling good!
If you would make the projectile speed of the occultist pistol slower than your granny on her way to open the door, make it consume a lot more ammo with a lot smaller ammo pool, and put any element onto it, you would get the Scorch. This is a Torque rocket launcher that doesn't really know what it is itself, as you can see with the red text that says, "Or am I?" And to be quite honest, I don't know if I think the weapon is bad or good, because when you can land your shot, it does great damage, but then again, its projectile moves so slow that it is hard to hit your shot under any circumstances. So maybe it dropped for some of you already from any lootable source in the game and can tell me whether you liked it or not, because I haven't made my mind up yet.
Barely worth the sweat.
The next weapon is a weapon that could also be perfectly suited for a reference to some YouTubers because they are complete sellouts and also suck. To get the sellout, which of course has to be a Mali 1 pistol to be as bad as it is, you have to complete a side mission from Tyreen in the Amber Mire on Eden 6. Just play through the main campaign until you get there and accept the mission that has the same name as the weapon, and all you have to know is that you have to kill yourself in order to get this as a quest reward. Pretty easy to get this ultimately bad weapon that might have no charge up time, but Tyreen sometimes talks to you through the weapon when using it. It has the red text "Hey Superfan" and it does little to no damage, but still it's probably worth killing yourself to get the weapon, which always comes with corrosive and fire element, instead of not killing yourself and just getting some money.
I awaken!
I already kinda reviewed the Shredded Fire on my channel before because I really enjoy this weapon, and it would be one of my favorite Vlad assault rifles in the game if it didn't shred through your ammo as well. The Vertex speed kills couldn't be more true, and is a reference to the series from Michael Angelo Baccio with the same name, and this assault rifle shoots unbelievably fast. It is great for getting a lot of fast consecutive critical hits in with just slightly reduced damage per shot, but a big magazine, even if it's hard to control sometimes with relatively high recoil. Like I said, if it wouldn't consume your ammo so fast, it would be much higher on my favorite weapons list, but still a great weapon that you should definitely try out yourself when it drops from any lootable source in the game with no elements.
Take that, you ganky knob!
The sickle is a Vlad shotgun that always shoots its projectile in the pattern of a sickle, which makes it pretty reliable but not good for damage. The Vertex Swing the sickle is probably a quote from the Berean study bible, and I did not really enjoy this weapon. Drops from any lootable source and can come with any element.
Oh, you're gonna die. Filthy friggin'
I definitely wanted to end part 5 on a stronger note than the sickle, so I am including the Skexel SMG manufactured by COV that can only drop from the legendary hunt enemy from Sir Hammerlock in the Ascension's Bluff right here on Pandora, pretty close to the fast travel station, so easy to reach as well. The Scrag will spawn every single time you load back into the game and has a chance to drop the Skexel with any element every time you kill him. The weapon's name and the red text is a reference to the reptilian bird-like race Skeksis in the movie Dark Crystal. This is a burst fire only weapon that every time you fire it will launch 1 to 3 inaccurate explosive projectiles alongside its bullets that will always have the same element as the weapon itself. It is a lot of fun to use and probably still worth going through the trouble in killing the Scrag, at least that was the case for me.
challenge!
Yeah guys, that was it for part 5. Tomorrow I will end this series and complete my list for every single legendary weapon in Borderlands 3 on level 50, and will continue with other hopefully interesting projects for you guys. If you are still watching and watched the whole video, you are an absolute legend. Make sure now to leave a like if you enjoyed this video or found it informative in any way, and help me out even more. Subscribe to not miss out on any future content, and follow me on Twitter at ChillFeedGaming. I will also link that down in the description to always stay updated. Thank all of you guys so much. See you tomorrow in part 6.